Good morning, children. How are you? You are all doing well. Okay. So, in the last class, we have discussed in the molecular basis of inheritance chapter about the introduction and what is DNA. Along with that, we have also discussed where the DNA is found. And as I have already mentioned you that DNA is found in two regions. The major amount of DNA is going to be found in the nucleus, and that is called nuclear DNA. And some amount of DNA is also found in the cytoplasmic organelles such as mitochondria and chloroplast in the eukaryotic organisms, and that is called non-nuclear or extranuclear DNA. So, as the eukaryotic DNA is double-stranded, it is also linear, whereas in prokaryotes, double-stranded, the DNA is circular. Okay. So, regarding all this, we have discussed in the previous class, and in addition to that, we have also discussed a little bit of historical background of the DNA also. So, as I have already mentioned you in the last class, the DNA for the first time was reported by Friedrich Miescher by taking the pus cells from the discarded hospital bandages. From that, he isolated the nucleus, and from which he obtained the genetic material, that is DNA. But he was not knowing what is that, and since he doesn't know anything about that, he named it as nuclein. He named it as nuclein. So based on this, there was one question in this year question paper that who for the first time identified the DNA and what did he name it. So 2-mark question, the answer is here. It is Friedrich Miescher, and the name what he given for that, it is nuclein. Okay. Now move on to the today's concept, that is about the detailed note about the DNA. Okay, as a little bit about the DNA we have already discussed under introduction and other parts. The nucleic acids, DNA is one of the nucleic acid where we have generally two types of nucleic acid. One is DNA, another one is RNA. So both the nucleic acids act as building blocks of the genetic material, and major DNA found in the form of genetic material, and along with the DNA, RNA is also found, but it does not found as genetic material except in case of few viruses, as I have already mentioned in the earlier class. Okay, so but most of the RNA, it is found in the form of messenger RNA. That means it is involved in the carrying of genetic information from nucleus to the cytoplasm for the protein synthesis. Okay, in addition to that, the RNA is also involved some of the functions such as adapter, as structural, as also a catalyst. That means adapter means that there are 3 types of RNAs which we come further. Okay, so that is adapter RNA is nothing but the tRNA, which is do the role of transfer of amino acid from cytoplasm to the protein factory during protein synthesis. And another one is rRNA, is nothing but the structural RNA, which is going to be involved in the formation of the ribosomes. And some of the 2 types of RNAs, one in case of prokaryotes, that is 23S rRNA, which is going to function as a catalyst called ribozyme. And similarly, one more type of RNA, which is in case of eukaryotes, that is 28S, which is also acting as the catalyst. So hence those RNAs are nothing but the ribozymes, what we know popularly, which you have studied even in the last year, that ribosomes. So ribosomes are nothing but rRNAs which act as catalyst. So this enzyme is going to be help in the formation of peptide bonds between the adjacent amino acid during protein synthesis, which you are going to be studying once again in the further topics. Okay, in this slide, we are going to concentrate more on the general structure of the DNA and RNA. As both DNA and RNA are made up of polynucleotide strands, they have got most of the general structure. Okay, so first of all, take the double-stranded DNA. So DNA is always found in double-stranded form. Almost all in the eukaryotic organisms, it is found in the double-stranded form, except in few viruses where it is single-stranded DNA also found as a genetic material. Then when it is double-stranded, it is going to made up of 2 polynucleotide strands, where in case of RNA, RNA is always found as in the form of single-stranded structure, so that it is made up of only 1 polynucleotide chain. Okay, then what is a polynucleotide? Polynucleotide is nothing but the polymer of number of nucleotides. Polymer of number of nucleotides. So what are nucleotides? Nucleotides are basically act as monomers of a polynucleotide chain, or monomers of, we can say that, both DNA and RNA, because they are made up of polynucleotide chains. Now, what is a nucleotide? Nucleotide is basically made up of 3 chemical components. What are that? Once again, see here, a nitrogen base, a pentose sugar, and a phosphate group. A nitrogen base is a nitrogen containing organic aromatic compounds. We'll focus it on later. And the second component is the pentose sugar. In case of pentose sugar, there are 2 types: ribose sugar in RNA and deoxyribose sugar in the DNA. A phosphate group. A phosphate group here is nothing but the phosphoric acid, which gives the acidic nature to both DNA as well as to the RNA. Here are the nitrogen bases. So as I've already mentioned, the nitrogen bases are the organic aromatic compounds, and they are classified into 2 types. So what are that? They are purines and pyrimidines. And once again, in purines, there are 2 types, adenine and guanine. In pyrimidines, there are 3 types, cytosine, thymine and uracil. Uracil is the type of pyrimidine nitrogen base which is going to be replaced by a thymine in case of DNA. That means uracil is going to be found only in RNA. Thymine is going to be found only in DNA. Now come to the general structure of, actually this detail is not required to your level, but still to understand the formation of nucleosides and nucleotides, a polynucleotide chain, one should know the position of the nitrogen atoms in the nitrogen bases. So here this is the structure of, general structure of the nitrogen bases. As I have already mentioned, the nitrogen bases, there are 2 types, purines and pyrimidines. So purines are the type of nitrogen bases which are having 4 nitrogen atoms at 4 different places. In addition to that, they have got the 2-ringed structure. So in that, one is the benzene ring, that is called pyrene ring, and another ring is imidazole ring. Okay, and 4 nitrogen atoms are present, one at the first position, another at the third position, and one more at the 7th, and last one is at the 9th position. So the purines are having 2-ringed structure, that is, one is pyrene ring, another one is imidazole ring, and in addition to that, they have 4 nitrogen atoms at which are the places first, 3rd, 7th and 9th. Please remember these positions of nitrogen atoms, very, very important there. Then come to the pyrimidines. So pyrimidines are the commonly having the single pyrene ring structure. In addition to that, they have got only 2 nitrogen atoms at only 2 positions, that is first and the third position. So in case of pyrimidines, once again there are 3 types. They are cytosine, uracil and thymine. So uracil is found in the RNA, whereas thymine is going to be found in the DNA. Rest of the nitrogen bases are common in both DNA and RNA. Okay, let us move on now into the pentose sugar. So pentose sugar is the carbohydrate or the sugar containing 5 carbon atoms, where you can make out through the help of these structures, they have made up of 5 carbon atoms. In case of pentose sugar, which involved in DNA and RNA, there are two types. One is deoxyribose, which is present in DNA. Another one is ribose sugar, which is present in RNA. So if you want to know, you can make out the molecular formula of ribose sugar is C5H10O5, whereas the molecular formula of the deoxyribose sugar is C5H10 but O4. As one oxygen atom which is less here at the second carbon atom, it is known as deoxyribose sugar. And you can make out at the second carbon atom here, in case of ribose sugar, HCOH bond instead of that in deoxyribose sugar you can make out just HCH bond. So as one oxygen atom is less here, it is mentioned as here deoxyribose sugar. Now move on to the next component. They are nucleosides. Okay, what are these nucleosides? As the nucleotide is I said it is made up of 3 chemical components. One is pentose sugar, another one is nitrogen base, and the third component is phosphate. When these pentose sugar link with nitrogen base, they are going to form a respective type of nucleoside. So what is a nucleoside? Nucleoside is basically a combination of pentose sugar and the nitrogen bases. Okay, so I will just show you here so how the nucleoside will get formed. Okay, so this is the pentose sugar. So nitrogen base, okay, if it is purine base, is going to be linked to the pentose sugar always for its first carbon atom, but by its 9th nitrogen atom. In case of purines, when they are going to link to the pentose sugar to form a nucleoside, how they link together? The pentose sugar first carbon is going to link with the 9th nitrogen of the purine nitrogen base. With the elimination of a molecule of water there, they are going to establish an N-glycosidic bond. This bond is called an N-glycosidic bond. As if it is an adenine nitrogen base, the nucleoside formed will be an adenosine. Okay, similarly, if the nitrogen base is a pyrimidine base, that is thymine, okay, so when it links to the pentose sugar, it is also going to be linked with the first carbon atom of the pentose sugar, but by its first nitrogen atom. It is going to be linked with its first nitrogen atom to the first carbon atom of the pentose sugar, again with the help of removal of a molecule of water by establishing an N-glycosidic bond. So such an nucleoside is called deoxythymidine. Okay, so this is just an example. So as we have, there are 5 different types of the nitrogen bases. We can see here the formation of the 5 different type of nucleoside. So what I said already, no? So nucleoside is a combination of the pentose sugar and the nitrogen base. So pentose sugar, if it is ribose sugar, okay, then the nucleosides will be deoxyadenosine, deoxyguanosine, deoxycytidine, deoxythymidine. Okay, if it is pentose sugar is ribose sugar, then the nucleosides will be adenosine, guanosine, cytidine, thymidine, uridine. In case of RNA, as the thymine will be replaced by uracil, only 4 different types of nucleosides. And similarly, in case of DNA, as uracil is absent here, you can find 4 different type of nucleosides in DNA. So in generally, you can just look into this, the combination. What are the nucleosides? Nucleosides are just the combination of pentose sugar and the nitrogen base. So pentose sugar, it is left to you. You can put here either the deoxyribose sugar or the ribose sugar, okay, but the adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, uracil are the only 5 different type of nitrogen bases. So they are going to yield the respective type of nucleosides. They are adenosine. So when the pentose sugar link with an adenine, a nitrogen base, the nucleoside will be yielded, that will be adenosine. Similarly, if it is the nitrogen base is the guanine, then the resulting the nucleoside will be guanosine. Similarly, cytosine, then cytine, then thymine, thymidine, uracil, it will be uridine. So the commonly the bond which is going to be formed in the nucleoside, that is N-glycosidic bond, which I had showed you in the previous slide. Yeah. So now let us see the formation of a nucleotide. So what is a nucleotide? Once again, nucleotide is nothing but the combination of a nitrogen base, a pentose sugar and a phosphate is nothing but a nucleotide. We can also take it in another way. Nucleotide is a combination of nucleoside and a phosphate. So here you can see the nucleoside. This is the nucleoside, okay, where you can see the pentose sugar, the nitrogen base, one purine nitrogen base here, and which is linked with a phosphate group. The phosphate group is nothing but the phosphoric acid. A nucleoside, when it links to a phosphate group or the phosphoric acid, it is going to form a phosphodiester bond. The position of the linkage between the phosphate group and the pentose sugar is very important. See, the phosphate group is going to link always the fifth carbon atom of the pentose sugar. Remember students, this is very important, where you can find in generally in the DNA, as there are two strands and which have anti-parallel direction, that is because of the presence of free phosphate end at the fifth carbon atom of the pentose sugar. So that is why you have to remember always that phosphate group always attaches to the pentose sugar at its fifth carbon atom and is going to form the phosphodiester bond between the another sugar of the another nucleotide by removal of the two molecules of water on either side. That is how the adjacent nucleotides will get linked together to form a chain of nucleotides. As in case of DNA or RNA, as there are 5 different type of nucleosides are formed, that is what we have seen in the previous slide, and next we shall see that there are similarly 5 different types of nucleotides. So one common example which I have taken in case of RNA and DNA, how the phosphate and the pentose sugar and nitrogen bases are linked together to form a nucleotide of RNA and a nucleotide of DNA. Just to look at the picture, and that is what I have explained so far, you are going to come across in this. Then let us see now, these are the 5 different types of the nucleotides. See, as I have already mentioned, nucleotide is the combination of a nucleoside and phosphate group. Hence, directly we have taken here the nucleosides. As there are 5 different type of nucleosides are formed, we have taken all the 5 different type of nucleosides here. One is adenosine. When adenosine links with the phosphate group, then that will be monophosphate, adenosine monophosphate or adenylate, shortly abbreviated as AMP. Then similarly, if it is cytidine, it links with the phosphate group, then is going to yield cytidyl monophosphate or cytidylate. Then similarly, the another guanosine, the another nucleoside, when it links with the phosphate group and is going to yield guanylate or guanylate monophosphate. Then if the thymidine is going to link with the phosphate group, then is going to form a thymidylate or thymidine monophosphate. Then in case of RNA, as we come across one of the nucleoside, that is uridine, if it links with the phosphate group, then is going to form the uridylate or UMP, that is nothing but the uridine monophosphate. The bond which is going to be linked together this different type of the nucleotides in a chain, that is nothing but the phosphodiester bond. Now let us see the molecular structure of DNA. As we know that DNA is double stranded, here you can see the molecular level how the nucleotides are linked together to form a one strand here, and other side again the nucleotides are linked together to form another strand, and both the strands are held together by the hydrogen bonds which are formed between the nitrogen bases of the opposite strands. So here you can make out this is the fifth carbon atom of one polynucleotide strand which is present at the phosphate is attached at the fifth carbon. So that this will be a fifth prime or 5 prime end of the DNA, and opposite side you can see the third carbon atom where OH group is present, that is the free end of this end, and therefore this end will be named as 3 prime. And opposite side once again, to provide the first carbon atom for the linking of the nitrogen bases, you can see the orientation of the pentose sugar here, it is reverse, where the pentose sugar is reverse in orientation in order to provide the first carbon atom for the linkage of nitrogen base. So in this strand you can find the 3 prime carbon compound, the third carbon is free here, which is where there is no phosphate, and at the opposite end you can see the 5 carbon, fifth carbon where the phosphate is linked. So that is why the two strands in a polynucleotide chain will have the opposite direction. If one strand has the 5 prime to 3 prime direction, the opposite strand will have 3 prime to 5 prime direction. Now we shall move on to understand the detail about this. We have to know about the complementary base pairing rule as well as Chargaff's rule. Yes, this is about the complementary base pairing rule. So Watson and Crick have already studied before giving their double helix structure of DNA. They predicted that in a double stranded DNA, the nitrogen bases are arranged complementary to each other. That means if in one strand there is a purine, then the opposite strand will have the respective pyrimidine base. So that is called complementary rule, the purine pyrimidine base pairing. If there is one strand, there is a purine, in the opposite strand at the same junction you can find the pyrimidine base. So that is called complementary base pair rule. As we have the purines adenine and guanine, let me tell about that, how they are going to be linked together. If there is a purine on one strand, it always pairs with the thymine on the opposite strand. Their pairing is also very specific. That means always the purine base adenine pairs with the thymine with always 2 hydrogen bonds, or the vice versa. So similarly, if you take guanine as another purine which always pairs with the cytosine, or even vice versa, that is also with the 3 hydrogen bonds. So this pairing is called complementary base pairing, and the specific and complementary base pairing is responsible for the uniform thickness of the DNA, that is almost 2 nanometer, or the distance of the 2 strands of the DNA will be 2 nanometer. Now let us see what is that Chargaff's base rule. So Erwin Chargaff proposed this particular rule. According to him, in a DNA molecule, in a double stranded DNA molecule, always the proportion of adenine, A stands for adenine here, adenine is always equal to the proportion of the thymine. Okay, similarly, the proportion of guanine will be always equal to the proportion of the cytosine. Therefore, he has given one expression, that is the ratio of A plus G will be always equal to the T plus C, where A is always equal to T and G is always equal to C. So similarly, see, he says that this ratio, that is A plus T and G plus C, is always constant. That is for the given specific organism. That means that is species specific. That is, the AT and GC base pairs are going to vary from species to species. So depending on this, the particular Chargaff's base rule, you are going to find certain numerical problems in your CET as well as in the NEET exam. So we will study later in the later classes those some problems. So before that, let us move on to the double helix structure of DNA. So before that, according to your NCERT syllabus, they have mentioned how to measure the length of the DNA. So as the DNA is made up of two polynucleotide strands, one can measure by the DNA, length of the DNA in terms of their number of nucleotides present. So here a few of the examples have mentioned here, where one example, which is virus, the Psi-X174, a bacteriophage which infect the bacteria. The virus which infect the bacteria, they are known as bacteriophage, which has about 5,386 nucleotides. That itself says that its genetic material is DNA, but it is single-stranded. Okay, this is the best example where in the genetic material is DNA, which is single-stranded. Is which virus it is? It is Psi-X174, which has the single-stranded DNA as its genetic material. Now, we shall move on to the next example, that is bacteriophage lambda. Lambda phage has 48,502 base pairs. So base pairs it is mentioned. That means it says that it has DNA as the genetic material, but it is double-stranded. Here you can find the difference. This is the one virus where the DNA as the genetic material, but it is single-stranded here. In this example, DNA only the genetic material, but here it is double-stranded. And similarly, in case of E. coli, means Escherichia coli bacteria, has the number of base pairs, that is 4.6 to the 10 to the power of 6 base pairs. So this is the amount of DNA present in the E. coli bacteriophage as well as in the another bacteriophage, that is Psi-X174. And when come to the human beings here, the haploid content of human DNA. What is the meaning of haploid content here? So all our body cells called somatic cells have got 46 chromosomes. Okay, so haploid content means n number of chromosomes. That means 23 chromosomes. So what is the number of nucleotides present in the haploid number of chromosomes? That is means 23 chromosomes. So human haploid content of DNA is 3.3 into 10 to the power of 9 base. So similarly, if you take for the somatic cells, it means diploid content, that will be double of the haploid content, because the diploid content means it is equal to 2n, haploid content means it is equal to 1n. That means 23 chromosomes here, here it is equal to 46 chromosomes. Now we shall move on to the double helix structure of DNA. Okay, so with respect to that, I will use the board here. Okay, so I have drawn here the double helix structure of DNA, where for the first time a three-dimensional structure of the DNA, double helix structure of DNA, which was given by the most famous Watson and Crick in the year 1953 by the help of the Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin's the X-ray diffraction the data. They are able to give the most standard idea about the structure of the DNA. So that is nothing but the double helix structure of the DNA. So this will be one of your 5-mark question commonly asked in your your board examination. So that is why please be prepared well. So let me explain you how to write the answer for this question. So question will be asked, explain the detail about the double helix structure of DNA. Now let me tell you how to explain. First point, let us take this the double helix structure of DNA is explained or proposed by Watson and Crick in the year 1953. Now, so each DNA, according to them, each DNA molecule is made up of 2 polynucleotide strands. How they are arranged? They are arranged right-handedly coiled or clockwise, in the clockwise direction they are coiled. Double helix structure of DNA. So this double helix structure of DNA is proposed for the first time by Watson and Crick in the year 1953. They used the X-ray diffraction data given by the Franklin and Wilkins. With the help of that, they are able to give such an perfect idea about the double helix structure of the DNA. According to them, each DNA molecule is made up of 2 polynucleotide strands, which are arranged right-handedly along the coiled right-handedly along the common axis so as to form a double helix structure. Hence the name double helix structure of the DNA. Now, each polynucleotide strand has made up of number of alternating units of sugar and phosphates which are lying on the outer side forming the backbone of the DNA molecule. Now, the 2 strands in a DNA molecule, they are anti-parallel in nature or in polarity. Means you can make out here the end of the one nucleotide chain here is 3' to 5' direction, and the opposite strand is having the opposite direction, that is 5' to 3' direction. And as I told here, the sugar and phosphate molecules are lying outside to form the backbone of the DNA, and similarly the nitrogen bases are lying on the inner side at right angles to the backbone, and the 2 polynucleotide strands are going to be held together by the hydrogen bonds between the nitrogen bases of the opposite strands. Now, each turn of the double-stranded DNA molecule, that you can measure either from the small gap to another small gap or large gap to another large gap. So that is one turn, one helix is going to measure about 3.4 nanometer or 34 angstrom unit, and approximately in one turn of the DNA, or it is also known as pitch, there will be approximately 10 nitrogen bases or 10 nucleotide base pairs. Hence, the distance between the adjacent base pairs will be 0.34 nanometer, and the distance between the 2 polynucleotide strands would be 2 nanometer. Now, when DNA gets coiled helically, is going to leave some small gap and large gap. They are called minor gap. The small gap is known as minor groove or shallow groove, whereas major groove, the larger gap is known as major groove or deep groove, and that is going to be common for the double helix nature of the DNA. Here you can make out A stands for here adenine, T stands for thymine, G stands for guanine, C stands for cytosine.